Hello cardboard lovers, it's Cardboard Badger here. I hope you're doing well, and today we have for you another standard legal deck tech for you. We are going blue-white spirits. We're going to be enchanting those spirits. We're going to be making additional spirits. We're going to be going wide and hopefully going in for the win. Quite a lot of fun to play this, I have to say, and if you enjoy this, there are plenty more deck techs on the channel. Link in the description below for some of them, and also where you can catch more Cardboard Badger in your life. Anyway, we'll get straight into it, and we will start off with our creatures. We have 17 creatures in total, starting off with 2 copies of Lunark Veteran. For 1 white mana, we have a Human Cleric 1/1, with whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life, which is brilliant. And for the disturb cost of 2 mana, 1 and a white, we have Luminous Phantom. It is a Spirit Cleric, so we're more excited about this side. We have a 1/1 flyer with whenever another creature you control leaves the battlefield, you gain a life. And that is pretty important because we do have ways of producing larger creatures that are only going to come in, they're going to attack, and then they're going to die. So if this happens every time, the Phantom is going to be giving us 1 life every time, which could support some of our other spirits later on in the game. So 2 copies of. Up next, we have 2 copies of Lantern Bearer. For 1 blue mana, we have a Spirit 1/1 flyer with a disturb cost of 3, 2 and a blue. It will then turn into Lantern's Lift, an enchantment, which is really important. We need lots of enchantments, and enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has flying. If Lantern's Lift would be put in the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So this is brilliant. 1 card is going to do 2 triggers for us. We've got spirits, we've also got enchantments. We're also playing 2 copies of Dawnheart Geist. For 2 mana, 1 and a white. We have a Spirit Warlock 1/3 with whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain 2 life. Most of this deck is spirits. If it's not spirits, it's an enchantment. So having these now is brilliant because it's going to enable us to stay in the game longer if we are getting punished, and it will also allow us to have some of our creatures, not many but some of them, become larger due to the life gain triggers. And a card that does care about life triggers, we have Voice of the Blessed. We're playing 1 copy. It is 2 mana, 2 white mana. It is a Spirit Cleric, a 2/2, and whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Voice of the Blessed. If Voice of the Blessed has 4 or more +1 counters on it, it has flying and it has vigilance, and if it's got 10 or more counters on it, it also has indestructible. Amazing card, only 1 copy, but absolutely fantastic card. Up next, we have 2 copies of Dorothea Vengeful Victim. For 2 mana, white and a blue, we have a legendary creature, Spirit 4/4 flyer, and when Dorothea Vengeful Victim attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at the end of combat, which is fine. If we can get in the air for 4 early, then that's great, or a blocker. It doesn't matter because we have a disturb cost of 3, 1 white and a blue, and we have Dorothea's Retribution, another enchantment. That's obviously important in this deck. We can enchant a creature, and enchanted creature has, whenever this creature attacks, create a 4/4 white spirit creature token with flying that's tapped and attacking, and sacrifice that token at the end of combat. This is great. If we can put this on one of our flyers, then we have the opportunity of having Luminous Phantom, if that's out, gain life every time one of those 4/4 attacks and then perishes, which could possibly then trigger Voice of the Blessed. So we've got a nice little circle that will enable us, hopefully, every turn, if they can't block those flyers, to produce a 4/4, have it die, we gain some life, we have a spirit of ours that gets bigger. Really good card, 2 copies of. Up next, we have 1 copy of Faithbound Judge. For 3 mana, 1 white. We have a Spirit Soldier. It's a 4/4 defender with flying and vigilance, and at the beginning of your upkeep, if Faithbound Judge has 2 or fewer judgment counters on it, put a judgment counter on it, and as long as Faithbound Judge has 3 or more judgment counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have defender. So we have a spirit, which is great. We have a blocker, which is great, and obviously it can attack later on, but it also has disturb. So if it does happen to perish, for 7 mana, 5 white, we have Sinner's Judgment, an enchantment, which is important. It's an aura curse. Enchant player. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a judgment counter on Sinner's Judgment. Then, If there are 3 or more judgment counters on it, enchanted player loses the game. So there we have it. Obviously, there's going to be a huge amount of enchantment and artifact disruption and everything with a lot of the cards in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, but this can just pop out from out of nowhere late game, and if they can't get rid of it, they've got three turns of the clock and it will all be over. Excellent card. We're also playing 1 copy of Catilda, Dawnheart Martyr. For 3 mana, 1 white. We have a legendary creature, Spirit Warlock. It has flying, it's got lifelink, it's got protection from vampires, and its power and toughness are equal to the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. So that's basically our entire deck. So this can get absolutely ginormous, which is brilliant. Only 1 copy, but if it happens to perish, disturb cost of 5, 3 white, and we can bring it back as Catilda's Rising Dawn, a legendary enchantment, an aura, so again, really important. And we have Enchant Creature. Enchant Creature has flying, lifelink, protection from vampires, and gets +X, where X is the number of permanents you control that are spirits and or enchantments. So again, it is going to be everything that's on the board. This can get absolutely ginormous and is really, really, really fun. Up next, we have 2 copies of Dream Shacklegeist. For 3 mana, 1 blue. We have a Spirit 3/1 flyer, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1. Tap target creature, and target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. And obviously, if you've got 2 of these out, you can tap their biggest threat and then use the second Geist to obviously tap it down for the next turn. We've also got opportunities to have more of these as well. So really, really good card for locking down our opponent's biggest threat or tapping down possibly their lone flyer, so we can go in with something massive thanks to Catilda. And we're also going to be playing 2 copies of Patrician Geist. For 3 mana, 2 and a blue, we have a Spirit Knight, a 2/2 flyer with other spirits you control, get +1/+1, and spells you cast from your graveyard cost 1 less to cast. So that is going to be really, really good when it comes to playing anything that happens to have Disturb, making it a little bit cheaper, and obviously pumping up all of our spirits as well. And our final creature, we have 2 copies of Mirrorhall Mimic. For 4 mana, 3 and a blue, we have a spirit with you may have Mirrorhall Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's a spirit, in addition to its other types. So we can have this spirit be another creature on our side of the board, or copy our opponent's biggest threat, which is what would normally happen. Then if we happen to trade, that is absolutely fine, because we will then be able to pay the disturb cost, 5 mana, 3 blue, and we will get Ghastly Mimicry, an enchantment, again really important for this deck. We can enchant a creature. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of enchanted creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other types. We can put this on one of our creatures, such as the Dream Shacklegeist, and have more and more and more of them to tap everything down. Or we could stick it on our opponent's creature if they have another huge threat, enabling us to duplicate that, and every single upkeep get another one, plus their spirits, which will trigger everything on our side of the deck. Oh, this is so good. Ghastly Mimicry is absolutely fantastic. Love this card. Up next, we have the non-creature spells. We have a total of 20, 16 of which are enchantments, which is really important. We'll introduce you to the key card. We have got 3 copies of Hallowed Haunting. For 4 mana, 2 white. We have an enchantment with, as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. And whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit creature token with this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of spirits you control. Everything we have is spirit, so every time we are able to play an enchantment, we're going to get another spirit, and they are going to be big. Amazing card. Up next, we have 2 copies of Cleric class. For 1 white mana, we have an enchantment And if you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. It's going to keep us in the game longer. It's level 2 for 4, 3 and a white. We have, whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And level 3 for 5, 4 and a white. When this class becomes level 3, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain life equal to its toughness. We're also playing 2 copies of Valor of the Worthy. For 1 white mana, we have an enchantment aura and enchant creature. Enchant creature gets +1/+1, that is it. But it is a cheap enchantment, and when the enchanted creature leaves the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So it replaces itself with a spirit, which is brilliant, which will hopefully then make our other spirits even larger, thanks to Hallowed Haunting. Up next we have 2 copies of Rally the Ranks, another enchantment for 2 mana, 1 and a white. As Rally the Ranks enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. So it's just like our Geist, pumping up the spirits. This is another way of doing it, and obviously it's an enchantment that will hopefully enable us to get another spirit on the battlefield. So a tribal boost all the way. Up next we have 2 copies of Spectral Steel. For 2 mana, 1 and a white, we have another enchantment, and we can enchant creature, giving it +2/+2. This is usually going to go on one of our flyers, but for 1 and a white, we can exile Spectral Steel from your graveyard and return another target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand, which is going to enable us to replay something that we have probably lost earlier on. We're also going to be playing 3 copies of Bound in Gold. For 3 mana, 2 and a white, we have another enchantment, and we can enchant permanent. The enchanted permanent can't attack or block or crew vehicles, which is seriously important at the moment, and its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. We're also going to be playing 1 copy of the Restoration of a Django. For 3 mana, 2 and a white, we have an enchantment, a saga, and its first chapter. Search your library for a basic Plains card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Second chapter, you may discard a card. When you do, return a target permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And the third chapter, exile this saga, then return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. And it turns into the Architect of Restoration, an enchantment creature, Fox Monk. It is a 3/4 with vigilance, and whenever Architect of Restoration attacks or blocks, create a colourless spirit creature token. So again, this has the opportunity, if we put some enchantments on it, possibly give it flying, we have the chance to then basically make more spirits, which is good because that's what this deck's all about. And the more spirits we have, the other spirits from our Hallowed Haunting will be bigger and bigger. We're also playing a full playset, 4 copies of Geistlight Snare. For 3 mana, 2 and a blue. We have an instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a spirit, which we should do, and it also costs 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment, which we also should do. So, a very, very, very cheap counter spell. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. And our final card. We're only playing 1 copy, but very fond of this card. We have got 1 copy of Reflections of Lithjara. For 5 mana, 4 and a blue. We have an enchantment with, as Reflections of Lithjara enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. It will be spirits, and whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. And finally, we get to the land base. It's very simple. We have a total of 24 lands, we have 13 plains, and we have 11 islands. And there we have it. That is the entire standard legal deck tech. Blue, white, enchanted spirits. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you happen to play this, please let me know how you get on. Did you change it at all? I'd love to hear your feedback on what you thought worked well, what you thought didn't work well, because deck building is a world of fun, and it is continually changing as we get new cards. all I'd like to say is I hope you did enjoy this. If you did so and you want to like, share, subscribe, do all the usual stuff, that would be wonderful. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you want to check out the link in the descriptions below, you will be able to check out some more deck techs and obviously other places where you can find us on social media platforms. All I'd like to say then is thank you for watching, people, and we will see you again soon here on Cardboard Badger.